weekend overall, and yeah, so I think what we're gonna do is talk a little bit about PPG. We'll talk about like anything else that happened this week. Steven, as always, gave us a good rundown, and I think it's kind of a fun opportunity to talk about like the year and kind of like where the game's at, and take a bunch of questions from the chat, and yeah.
I agree, dude. Isn't it weird that we're already Christmas is next week, which is insane.
Yeah, I can't even. I can't
Like,
even.
honestly, it's been a really interesting year for just Lorcana in general.
Yeah, and all of us personally, it's
I
crazy.
mean, yeah, no, it's been. I don't know. I almost feel like you've been on a journey with me.
Oh yeah, yeah, certainly. But I don't know. Anyway, it'll be fun to reminisce about, and yeah, hope we get some folks from the chat, and yeah, and yep, I know we have like both of us have a hard stop at like 9:30, so we'll let's make sure that we stick to that, and
Don't you worry, I will remind you when it's close to time.
all right, and Jeremy will be on probably about 8:45 Central, and he'll chat with us through the end, and we'll go from there.
Cool.
All right. What do you say we? Oh yeah, we're late again. We're bad at hitting time. Let's kick this thing off.
Listen, we're professional.
Hey,
Hello.
I love to dance.
Look, man, it never gets old. I could just listen to the intro forever.
It is. I struggled for the longest time to find an intro that kind of fit the brand we were looking for, and like stumbled across this, and I was like, yes, like
I
yes.
genuinely don't think you could have hit something that's more perfect than this. Like, I know at one point you did ask me about like potentially making an intro, and I just don't think I could have made anything that was even remotely as perfect as what we got.
I appreciate that, and I'm sure you could have, but I don't know. I appreciate that, but it does get me excited. It has the right vibe, or has the right happy energy going into the show, and because it's fun. It's fun seeing. I love chatting with you every week. So full disclosure, there was a period of the show, especially when we didn't have like co-hosts and where it was all us, where like Monday nights could be stressful, where it's like, I got a lot. I don't know. It's because it's a lot to prep for it and to come home and now to put Elena to bed and do all the things. But now every night I genuinely look forward to hanging out with you and chatting with the chat, and yeah, just kind of like vibing. It's a lot of
I
fun.
mean, just before I joined, just as like a full disclosure, I was always just really excited to be able to come and talk and be a part of it, just because I enjoy. I don't like using the word yap, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
enjoy yapping about the game and just talking to the community members. I mean, especially you, Liam. Like just hanging out with you has been
Oh,
fantastic. So anytime I got to just be on was a treat. So being on consistently now, I mean, it's just genuinely one of those things I look forward to every week. It's like, well, even if I'm having kind of a rough, last week in this transition and my new job has been, it's been a roller coaster. I'm not gonna lie. But having this thing consistently every Monday night to come hang out with one of my favorite people, like
aw.
it's genuinely like a couple of the weeks. It's been the thing that's gotten me through the week.
I appreciate that, and likewise. Um, And same to everybody in the chat. Shout out to before we go on. We should say hello to our friend over there in Poland, who's joining us. It's 3:34 a.m. So just in case you go to bed, I appreciate you hanging out with us for a few moments. Pizeki, Depresia. That sounds right.
Listen, I'm far. No, I've been reading English for far too long. I can't do it.
Yeah. ABBC says, Liam Zen, how are you? We're well. We're excited. We're here. We're chatting with you.
It's Monday night, which means what else are you going to do? I'm very tired. It's been. I know you have some family in for the holidays.
Yeah, for the next couple days before we fly to Maine. So we're doing some Christmas stuff this evening. Yeah.
I'm gonna say you have the whole like sweater get up going on right now. So
full disclosure, these are pajamas.
It's even better. Is it like a Grinch-esque onesie pajama type thing?
Kind of. And I know the next question is in the chat. Yes, the bottoms are the exact same pattern as the top. It is exactly as glorious and as comfortable as you imagine they would be. But I don't know. I changed out of my work clothes and I was like, I'm going to skip the between step and go straight to
going full pajama mode. Yeah.
Yep.
Look, so a lot of people may not know or even think this about me. Christmas is one of my favorite times of year. Genuinely, it's not the decorating and it's not the lights and it's none of that. A lot of it is the Hallmark Christmas movie special.
Yes. Oh my goodness, my in-laws would die. I will let them know.
I know. So I get really into just the Hallmark movie specials. So every year it's a tradition. I have to watch Love Actually. Now I've roped Color's Law into this tradition, and we started last year, and begrudgingly we're continuing the tradition this year. But I have a list of movies that, like, it's Christmas, like you have to watch. So you have like Love Actually, then you have the Charlie Brown Christmas, then you have all of the claymations. So Year Without a Santa Claus, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer,
the Rankin and Bass specials.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's come on, man. Like, so I grew up on like the old claymation ones, like Rudolph and the Isle of Misfit Toys, all of those. I also like Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. I'm not the biggest fan of Twice Upon a Christmas. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. There's also the Christmas special that was the House of Mouse. If you ever watched the House of Mouse things, that was Mickey was the he was like the announcer for there was a theater, and they would essentially just show like all old cartoons throughout the cartoon, but there was a contained story within the dinner show theater that they had going on.
Yeah, I watched that. I have to go back and check it out again. I do remember it, but it's been a long time. I'm ashamed to say.
Oh man, if you haven't, look up the Christmas House of Mouse special this year. Like if you're just wanting something cool to watch, if it's not Mickey's like Once Upon a Christmas, then make it the House of Mouse Christmas special.
Fungus saying I get the yearly extended edition Lord of the Rings, watch in and call it there. I mean,
it's not a Christmas movie.
It has yeah, I don't know. No. I think you might be able to get away with, like, for a fantasy adventure like the Chronicles of Narnia does have Santa in it. So
it does.
So
also not a Christmas movie. Maybe. However, the Harry Potter movies do count as Christmas movies. So
I think Muppet Christmas. He's watching the Muppet Christmas Carol whether he likes it or not this year, says Color. So there you go. You have that to look forward to. Here comes Mr. Humbug. Here comes Mr. Actually,
I've never watched that movie.
Really? Yeah. It's pretty good. The Marley and Marley bit is really good, and then I always appreciated the wordplay with the mice working for. You'll have to see it. Our pens have turned to inksicles. Our assets are frozen.
I was never a Muppets kid growing up. So a lot of the, just a lot of the allure and things just kind of lost on me. My cousin was like really big into Animal. He was a drummer, so like he had a big like it wasn't plushie because it wasn't something you could like cuddle or hug. Really, it was just kind of weird. But it was like a big figure-esque type thing. It was fuzzy. I don't know. It was almost like a fuzzy doll thing, sort of, but like he had it at like a drum set, and it was like life-size animal. So I was like, oh, that was cool. But that was like the only real Muppets exposure I had growing up.
Yeah, it's my parents really liked the Muppets, so I got into it with the Great Muppet Caper. Like, so when when we were younger, like you had your VHS tapes, and like
Yeah.
whatever you had in VHS, you watched 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And then everything else. So I watched the Great Muppet Caper like over and over again. So, and none of the rest. But the other Christmas movie, randomly, and kind of just to do a little bit of a Lorcana segue, I learned about the movie Klaus from Julia Riva, talking to her because she was an animator on that film. And it's a Netflix film that came out, I don't know, like 5-6 years ago now. And then I learned, talking to her, that several other Lorcana artists worked on it, including Joachim van Gool, who was a supervising animator. And I think Anna Stosnik was the other big one. And Klaus has become a definite Christmas tradition for us because it is one of the best Christmas movies I have ever seen. It hits you right in the feels. It makes you cry, and I cannot recommend it enough. So
see, like you say that, and like all I can think of is the claymation thing when Santa comes down to find, I forget which reindeer that came down. I think it might have been Dasher that one of his elves used. But they're like, "What's your name?" He goes, "My name is Klaus."
Klaus.
Klaus. Mr. Klaus. And like, "Oh, hey, how you doing, Mr. Klaus?" So I'm sure the movie has nothing to do with that, but that's the only thing I can think about.
From Poland hitting us hard, but can you explain for the younger audience what a VHS is?
There were these things you had to rewind after you watched them. It was great. It was wonderful. After you watched the movie, you had to spend another 5 minutes before you could watch it again.
Yep. And you had a machine to rewind the tapes for you so you didn't wear out your VCR. That's so good. It's a Wonderful Life. Shout out there.
You were cool. You have one of those. Either way, I hand wound a lot of mine.
That's why we had kids to rewind the tapes.
That was me. Anyway. I was the kid.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, Christmas season, a lot of fun. I'm excited. Somebody asked, what Christmas movies do you think will be working in a winter spell? My answer is probably none, because it comes out in like February, and I don't think that would work. Maybe. But I think probably save it for a year right before Christmas, but we'll see. I don't think Harry Potter counts as a movie, or Die Hard counts as Christmas movies. Yeah, I've always said Die Hard's a Christmas movie, but I don't know, just to be a troll, kind of.
I disagree with this take. Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely not. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Harry Potter movies are Christmas movies. It's just, I think it's not that Christmas is a central theme to the movies. It's that they have a feel at certain points where it captures all of what you would imagine an ideal Christmas would look like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why, well, I was gonna say Love actually, but it's also very much set at Christmas. But anyway, and last thing before we transition into Lorcana, Just Man J saying Vixen was the reindeer Logan.
That's what it was, yeah.
When Mrs. Claus tells him Vixen went with Jingle and Jangle, the response was, "She's just a baby."
Oh, she's just a baby.
She's just a baby is another year-round trope in our house. I need to pick that up.
Yeah, because Santa was sick, so he got up. Oh, she's just a baby. So he goes and like tries to find her, and like when he's like sneezing the whole time when he goes down because there's no snow or whatever, and people are starting to not believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, last one. All again from Poland. Every year we have to watch Home Alone.
See, another good Christmas movie. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. Let me just talk to the green room, and yeah. So, I could talk about Christmas all night.
I absolutely could. Don't even test me. I'm telling you, man, it's genuinely my favorite holiday and my favorite time of year. And like, I've been told by some, wow, that's really surprising. I wouldn't have thought that of you. But I don't know, man. I really, really enjoyed, like, especially the really cheesy Hallmark Christmas movies. Like, there's just something about them that gets me every time. When I was growing up, I used to sit in my grandmother's house, And that's just what we did around this time of year. Is like we just turn on Hallmark and just see what kind of bad B Christmas movie would come on. It's amazing every time.
Yeah, I agree. Just getting stuff started. Okay, so I could talk about Christmas. Like I said, I know we both could. We should just do a special stream like before Christmas where it's just an hour of talking about Christmas.
I am absolutely
let's do that.
so down for that
on an off night. We should do that. We'll figure something out. We should talk about Lorcana a little bit. We do have a hard cutoff at 9:30, so we're going to try to get out of here by then because both of us are tired. We've been working and traveling, and it's been the holidays and all that. So we got to get some good sleep. Courtney's saying I want to be on that night. Okay, done. when we do it, you're invited. So we should talk a little bit about Lorcana. There was some stuff that happened this week, capped off by PPG Summit.
Yeah.
How was your week in Lorcana, Logan?
So I spent a majority of the week kind of, I wouldn't say getting ready for Infinity Weekend, just because I already had stuff to do, and it ended up snowing like 6.5 inches Saturday. So I think the one Infinity thing that I was able to go to ended up getting canceled because of that. But in playing Infinity, I kind of gained a new respect for the format in general. I think Whispers in the Well changed up in some ways what we considered to be the most powerful things in Infinity. And some of the tools really shine there more so than in Constructed, which is not surprising. We got a lot of really, really powerful cards in Whispers that just need some extra key pieces to shine. Yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I didn't say that like Emerald Amethyst is one of my front runners for Infinity because the discard variant just gets really, really good with a couple of the Whispers cards. But also, I think some people forget that Emerald Steel discard is also still very, very strong and should be something you should be very afraid of in Infinity.
On that note, I also gained a new respect for Infinity, and full disclosure, because we've been doing all these core constructor tournaments, like we've been commentating them, and I'm getting ready to go to Richmond, and that's core constructed. I haven't paid much attention to Infinity, like a little bit, but I've been focusing like 100% of my time for preparing for these events, and so I got to do a little bit on the ICL, and then I did a little bit of research, talked to some folks, and then I really got to watch and just stare at it at this event on Sunday, and I also gained a new respect for it. And I got to see some surprises that I know a lot of folks probably who are into Infinity probably figured out. One of them, to your point about the discard decks and the Emerald decks, is that the Max Goop loop with the Muses, like didn't see it coming, and then it happened, and I was like, Isn't
it so gross? Isn't it so gross when you watch it happen in real life? You're just like, that thing that we theorized when we saw Max Goof. I think it was the Chinese DLC when they unlocked 5 Fable cards for their event, and we kind of assumed that Emerald Steel would just kind of be the top of the heap, but like Max Goof was just an immediate auto include in Emerald Steel, and then you see it in Infinity, and you're like, wow, he just does more of what the deck was already wanting to do, and it's just a perfect slot. It's so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty busted. And some other cool stuff. I will say one thing on Infinity Weekends, and then I want to bring in our guest to kind of like hang out with us for the rest of the show. I didn't get to see much of Infinity Weekends, and so Jeremy, who we're going to bring on in a moment, was also at the PPG Summit with me. So we were all kind of locked down there doing stuff, doing Lorcana, doing some cookie running, honestly. And so we didn't get to experience much of Infinity Weekend. It was interesting. I think, and just perusing social media and talking to folks that went, I have mixed feelings about how successful it was. I think what I gleaned was pretty much everybody who went kind of had a good time and enjoyed exploring a new format. I didn't see anybody who got to go to an event who like was upset by it. The one thing that I was a little mixed on was it did seem like participation was a little lower than I would have hoped. Probably equal to, it is probably equivalent to set championships and maybe a little lower in some places. But I think that's a function of some of the news from some of the local game stores came out a little late. And there's also just the holiday season, a lot going on. People are saving money. People are Christmas shopping. People are, traveling. And so I'm not surprised. I think after thinking about it, the turnout was a little lower. I kind of thought going into it, if I go to an event, I'll get it's a whole new world. And I was surprised people walking away with 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But that's also kind of cool. And it's also cool the LGS is there to like give them out to the players and not like keep them and stuff. So I don't know. It seemed great. I really hope there's more of them. I really hope that there's more supported weekends focused on Infinity with prize support. And we get this format, outside of Annapolis and in LGSs. But I think my biggest takeaway is, I don't know of anybody who went who was like, oh man, Infinity was miserable. I think it felt refreshing to a lot of people.
No, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of haven't really paid attention to the format. Obviously, we all know that the third DLC in North America is going to be for Infinity. So I think a lot of people might have been just kind of holding off to play a lot of the format until then. But having designated times by Ravensburger to play it like this and then having the event like a PPG Summit, I mean, it just kind of brings people into the format and more or less forces people to pay attention to it. And I genuinely think there's still so much that's unexplored in Infinity that we haven't seen or thought about yet, because no one's really taken the time to, just brainstorm a lot of the tools together. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of cool stuff that came out this weekend that we haven't thought about, or people might have played with or toyed with the ideas of, but haven't quite fleshed out. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of potential in Infinity to be a really good format. I don't want it to be a main one like Constructed personally, just because I'm boring like that.
Yeah.
That's my own personal downfall. But I do think every once in a while, branching out and seeing what else the game has to offer than the current Constructed metagame, which we're kind of coming up to the end of the cycle of the Whispers in the Well metagame with Winter Spring somewhat close-ish to coming out. We're slowly approaching what I think we consider as like reveal season for that. So having something to break up the monotony is really good.
Yeah, I agree. Let's get more into, we can talk a bit more about Infinity, but I'd like to talk about several other things. We're going to run way short on time because there's so much I want to talk about. But to do that, let's bring in another voice who you know and love for the Lorcana community. You usually see him on the Twitters hosting Spaces there. Probably the most popular Lorcana show on Spaces, as well as co-hosting a podcast with Zan, who you all know and love, and Jeremy Bertioni.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Can you hear me okay?
I feel like I just saw you.
Excellent. I am so happy to be here and join the amazing Christmas movie arbitration stream.
Listen, it's a very important conversation that not everybody has, but you've got to segregate them.
That's true. Favorite Christmas movie, Jeremy? What do you think?
Well, so I really want to talk about the category, because Zenula said something really important, which is that it doesn't matter that Christmas is a central theme. It matters more that like there's a Christmassy moment in the movie, right? The Harry Potter movies always have the receiving of the sweater and everyone's all snuggly and it feels very Christmassy. To me, a really important part of the Christmas movie is that the family feels like they kind of did something together when they watched it. That's why to me the Lord of the Rings qualifies, because when your family watches the Lord of the Rings together, it really feels like we went out to the like, like when you go watch a movie in theaters on Christmas Day, there's a certain vibe you want that movie to have, and the Lord of the Rings brings it every time.
First of all, if you're the kind of family that goes to movie theaters on Christmas, I was one of those guys that had to go work at the movie theater on Christmas. So I don't know. I always felt so weird because they come in, and genuinely, I will say this: 90% of the time, the people that go to the movie theaters on Christmas are the nicest, most thankful people that you're there and like have an event for them to go do. And I got tipped more working Christmas Day than ever as a door guy. But also, if you guys didn't come on Christmas, I would never have to work on Christmas as a movie theater door guy. I have a weird mixed feeling about that one.
Well, yeah, I guess we could talk about that all day, but who wants to talk about Lorcana? Am I right? Let's do it.
I mean,
Get into it.
we'll talk about whatever.
We're breaking into the real nitty gritty here.
Right. Tackling the debates that happen every year that we need to finally solve, so we can stop throwing down every December.
Exactly.
But no, yeah, let's we should do like a holiday movie tier list next week on our Christmas stream.
Well, I certainly know that the Grinch is having a moment this year, right? Like he's everywhere. Have you guys noticed this? It's the Grinch is all over the place. Can't just
you're talking about the guy that's which theme park is it where the guy dresses up as the Grinch? Are you talking about that or?
No, I've just been seeing them all over the place. I was in a combination KFC Taco Bell on my way home from Orlando this morning, and there was a big sign that said like "Merry Grinchmas," and I was like, "Okay,
he's just in the zeitgeist this year. He's infiltrated the
Grinch."
Wait, aren't they doing like a promotion for him or something? And they have like a sauce that turns like one of your condiments green or something like that.
See, the Grinch is happening.
Yeah, but why? Like, why now? Why?
Right.
Why is it the Grinch's moment? Is there a movie? There's no movie coming out. I don't know.
If you're familiar with
we don't need to be reminded that the Jim Carrey Grinch Christmas movie exists every year. And this is their way for it.
Yeah. Grinch salt at McDonald's, says Lorcana Loaf. Pickle flavored? That I have questions, actually. I'm gonna go find this tomorrow.
Pickle flavored instead of onion flavored, first of all. That's not true to canon. But
yeah,
whether you love it or hate it, you can't deny I get the people talking. They're like, well, actually,
yeah, right.
That's what my space is too.
It's true.
Look, we're now talking about the Grinch just because he's there in the zeitgeist. I mean,
yeah,
it's working.
We're part of the problem. We're part of we're the I don't know. We're the opposite of problem.
Congress.
Yeah, sure. But Jeremy, so how you were at let's segue slightly. We can come back. You were at PPG this weekend. You were around Lorcana. You did some other stuff. How was your weekend at PPG? What did you think of the summit?
I had a blast at the summit. I really enjoyed all my time. Basically, it was so. I want you to know that I wasn't playing Lorcana, and I got a lot of text messages that were like, "Are you jumping ship?" But my advice to people always is have your second card game, because nothing gets you wanting to play Lorcana more. I have passion to play right now Lorcana, which I didn't have maybe a week ago. Why? Because I just played in the Cookie Run tournament and I had a blast. So to me, having that secondary card game can really ignite you for the first card game. And of course, I watched all the Lorcana events unfold. I was watching the top matches. I really like Infinity right now. I feel like the community is pretty much split right down the middle of people that love it and people that really wish it would go away. Right now, I'm thinking that is the format that I wish I was playing. Of course, that Zan keeps us all pretty strict on the podcast, so we're practicing core for Richmond.
Yep. I mean, I agree. I do think people are split, but everybody's passionate about it, right? Like everybody has an opinion, and that's good. I think the worst thing that can happen is everybody just nothings it, right? Like it's just there and nobody cares. So I do think that it's fun that everybody is weighing in either way, and is passionate about their position. It'll be really fun to see how it ramps up prior to Indy, because when the entire Lorcana community is prepping, is diving into Infinity and prepping, then you'll see the real opinions come out, and I'm excited for that.
Oh, I can't wait for the calls for ban lists before the Indy DLC.
Yeah.
The big thing I've been dealing with a lot in Lorcana is there's all the secrecy. So for me, I'm worried about the silence preceding Indy, where everyone has their secret deck and nobody's talking. And people are like, "What are you playing in Infinity?" And then on the Illumineers, people are like, "Actually, why don't you tell me first?"
What are you playing in Infinity? Actually,
yeah, it reminds me of the World's Testing flashbacks, where everybody was pretending that they just spent the last week playing Mario Kart.
Yeah.
I did actually have that conversation with Wonderland at one point. I was like, "What are you doing to prep?" And he was like, "What are you talking about? I'm playing video games." And I was like, "Okay,
yeah. Okay,
sure, Betty."
Okay. Yeah. No, I do think that's fun because there are 100% going to be the like 3 or 4 consensus decks that like the community is like kind of on, and then there's going to be some wild cards. There's going to be, Zan's going to come in with like, Amber Sapphire like princesses and just crush people, and or just these Zach Bivens coming in with this deck that nobody else can play but him, and just these weird builds. And I mean, I can't wait. It's gonna be wild.
Well, I think we kind of touched on it, right? I think there's a lot that's completely unexplored in Infinity because no one's really put a lot of time into it yet. Just because I don't think there's been something big enough that's pushed people to really dive into it. And by the time Indy comes out, we'll have another 2 sets come out in between them now. So we'll have even more tools to play with to just go into, the depths of what is Infinity right now. I don't know, Jamie, you said you didn't play a lot this weekend. Like, have you played a lot of Infinity in general? I know you said you are pretty strict as far as practicing constructed for Richmond, but like, you dipped your toes a little bit going into Southside, weren't you?
Yep, RIP Southside. But basically, Infinity is you can divide it into. There's pillars of that format that are really easy to understand. You have your blue steel item lists that usually take advantage of Hiram Flaversham. You have your red blue sort of more control-y versions that usually have like big Sisu and other things of that nature. Maybe be prepared. And then there's sort of like a bunch of Amber aggro decks. Usually the most popular one is like an Amber Steel Princesses thing. And then there's like a green steel mid-range deck. Those are what I would say are like the main, like the setting of Infinity. Those are decks you're likely to play against.
Yeah, I think that kind of covers the kind of what Liam touched on, the main pillars of like, this is what we expect to see. But I genuinely just don't think, like if I had to put money on it, I don't think that one of those things, from what we conceptualize it now or imagine it, I don't think that one of those things in a shell or the way we're looking at it end up being what dominates the DLC for it, if that makes sense.
I mean, well, there's 2 sets left, and so it's hard to, it's hard to speculate. It honestly is. When you said like we can't even conceptualize, I was like, whoa, Xennius is getting psychedelic right now. So there's 2 sets left. So there's an amount of speculation that is a little bit pointless. It's really hard for me to imagine that something like better at the core than Blue Steel is going to come out, if that makes sense. Like I really think it's going to be hard to disrupt Popsicle, Fortisphere, Lucky Dime as like an engine that can win games.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, so I think that'll probably be around, but I could see something like red purple or red blue getting like kind of totally outclassed by whatever like blue green gets up to in the Eternal format. Yeah, I think something I could picture happening, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we just look at the tools we got this set, right? In Malicious being scary, and depending on what comes out between Winterspell and the set after, like, I mean, just everything that we consider to be like the powerful thing, like there could just be a set of like 5 to 10 cards that just kind of upheaves the status quo that we're thinking of right now. Like right now, we can't imagine what would be a better finisher than like, Popsicle Bell Dime. And
right.
Like, I mean, we could just have something that completely breaks that. Or counters it even. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and it's even more likely to happen, I do think, because we saw such a, I'll use the word power creep, but we saw the power level of the game push so much in Whispers with, small things like the stat lines being pushed up, equivalent to the ink cost. And then not only that, but some incredibly powerful new abilities. This is the first set where, the preponderance of the legendaries are meta relevant. And that hasn't happened before. Usually there's like 1 or 2 that everybody's hunting and everything else is like bust. So if that trend continues and we're in a new power era, these next 2 sets could really, really shake things up, which I'm pretty excited for. But you talked about those Blue Steel being kind of one of the most powerful decks, and I don't think we can use the PPG Sunday event as a barometer for the format as a whole, because it was a very small player pool. But it was interesting. A lot of Blue Steel. There was a lot of Blue Steel, and none of it. It didn't really do too well. It ended up being taken down by by Blue Red, which just kind of owned it. As well as, we had some aggro here with the old-fashioned dogs build, but yeah, it was interesting.
So right
Old-fashioned
now
dog
with
build.
Blue
I miss
Steel,
Pegasus.
So right now with Blue Steel, you kind of get to choose what you want to lose to. And so a lot of people are playing decks that have a pretty bad matchup against Blue Red in exchange for like the ability to deal with the Amber decks. So for example, we have Spooky Sight in this list. You'll notice also the Explosive Device, Ingenious Device.
Yeah.
This is not a card that's even playable against Blue Red, really.
Fair.
It's uninkable. It's cumbersomely costed. But what is it really good against? Well, when you
Blowing up
sacrifice
dogs.
it to play a bell, you're winning against these Amber aggro decks. And so I see a lot of things in these lists that make me think, oh, we're not trying to beat red blue. But once the deck turns a little more towards Oswald's, Pete's, or things of that nature, suddenly you're taking down red blue left and right. So I think the blue steel decks are in like a weird spot right now. Here you see Let the Storm Rage On. You see what I'm talking about? They can't beat red blue with this deck.
Yep, that's fair. Also, I want to mention this card did work this weekend. This was pretty bonkers into Diablo. I saw Rex so many Diablos. And just
All of a sudden, your bell just takes out Diablo.
Yeah, and it happened over and over again. People picking Storm, and the player like, I don't care. Ink Runner, boom.
Ink Runner.
So
did you guys hear the story about at the beginning of this format? I built the best deck ever in Lorcana, and it took advantage of Ink Runner to give my opponent stuff evasive so I could kill it with the Horseman strikes.
No, that's so dumb.
Not the Amber Sapphire forcing you to. That's so good.
And then we learned that that card actually gives alert, and all the cards came out of the sleeves immediately. Zam was like, that's not evasive, that's alert. And I was like, okay, we're done with this deck. Let's move on to the next project.
And that was fun for all the 5 seconds I had.
Yep. That was a really good idea that I had. Yep, that says alert.
Yep, there you go. I was gonna say, as soon as you said that, I was like, oh man, you could do stuff with Dumbo with that, and it was the old trick giving evasive to a bodyguard character that then you can't challenge into, so you can get around the bodyguard because it's not a legal challenge target. But yes, no, that sad.
It reminds me a lot of when RMB was trying to build a Ruby Sapphire list with Lyle Tiberius Rourke, and then he remembered the text once per turn, and he immediately took the card out of the deck.
Yeah.
Oh wow, the red Lyle Tiberius Rourke is a once per turn.
It is a once per turn.
Ooh, really glad we didn't play that at Worlds. We were not doing it with once per turn. Yeah, so one of the benefits, Liam, of having a show like this is sometimes you get to do PSAs, and PSAs, Ink Runner gives alert, not evasive.
There you go. I will be quite honest. Even calling the matches this weekend, in my head, it gave it evasive, and I'm glad you called that out. So
there is a difference, kids. Remember, read your cards before you get excited about something.
Read your card explains the card is the most trolly thing you can say online, but it is true.
We have all fallen victim to it. I had a guy in our Discord. He was like, I was today years old when I found out that Tiana lasts the entire turn instead of just once per turn. And I was like, what?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't just pay for it one time. They got to pay every time.
Yeah, and he didn't know that. And I was like, wow, you really thought Tiana just wasn't that good, huh?
Yeah.
My favorite is when you have like a big enough character. So I was playing a lot of the 5/5 Baymax at the time when Tiana was really popular, and I would attack like a lady, and they'd be like, okay, it gets -3 from Tiana, and I'd be like, right, the lady still goes away, and they were like, oh, yeah, it's just like he's big enough.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, my plans ruined.
Right. All right. So we're talking about Lorcana in terms of like, are we doing a macro talk about like where this game's going?
I kind of wanted to do that, and something you said was kind of what led me to this topic, and that is because I had the same kind of thing in mind, and then you touched on it, and then we moved away from it, and I'm going to go back to it. There was some discourse this weekend, and I think about the PPG Summit. And I think the reason it caught some fire on social media and it resonated with people is because there are things that have been happening over the last, we'll call them like 4 or 5 months. And it includes like the few number of challenges and all that, where some people were concerned about the direction of the popularity of the game. And then there's other things like there are some areas where some leagues are lagging a little bit, and so all of that was going on a little bit. And then the summit happened, and I think what alarmed people the most is they saw people like you, Jeremy, and they saw people like Kendall playing other TCGs at the summit, and they saw the popularity of Riftbound and everybody over there. And then in some spaces, people on certain social media networks were like, you know what, this is alarm bells. This is concerning to me that I see my favorite Lorcana players playing other games, and that the turnout for Lorcana is lower, and this must mean that the game is in trouble or is losing popularity. And I really want to open this up for conversation, but I wanted to give it just a quick thought first. And I don't think that that's the case, and I'm going to give two pieces on this. One is I completely agree with what you said, Jeremy, about having a secondary TCG or even another TCG. I think it's really common in collectible card games for people to leave a game and come back to it. It's more common than not. In fact, almost every single Magic player who's playing Magic nowadays will say, you know, I used to play Magic as a kid and I left for years and then I came back. And we all move in and out of it because our interests change and we get bored and we move away, and then our vigor for the game becomes renewed, and then we come back. But the other piece of this is I think of TCGs as like an ecosystem. And when you have people existing within that ecosystem, it's not like having other card games be popular doesn't hurt Lorcana necessarily, because people do move fluidly back and forth with each one. The danger to me would be when people like just leave TCGs altogether and the industry as a whole starts to suffer. But when TCGs are a popular pastime and it's drawing people into the hobby, I think that's good. And the last piece I wanted to say, this is the second point, is I've noticed something with Lorcana, and I saw it a lot this weekend. We've reached a point in the game where in competitive areas, we're getting a ton of people who are doing well competitively, for who this is their first TCG. And I run into, at this point, 10, 12, 15, 20 people per event where I talk to them. And I always ask them, is Lorcana your first TCG? And back in the days of Atlanta, most everybody said no. I found 1 in 100. And nowadays, I'm finding so many for who the answer is yes. And several even people at the top tables this weekend, this was their first TCG. In fact, the second place finisher in the constructed event on Saturday, this is his first TCG. I don't know that you see that in other card games. And so to me, it's an indicator that Lorcana is doing what it needs to do and draw in people over time, even as late as Arcasia's Island and Fabled, that will stick with Lorcana long term. As opposed to the initial wave of folks who moved over from other TCGs and are now, taking a break to enjoy another TCG, and will probably come back. That's all my thoughts.
So I want to kind of, first of all, thank you. Great. It's a great way to start the conversation. I really do unironically feel like that's true. Second of all, I kind of want to paint a picture. I feel like it's fair to steelman the side of people that are concerned about where Lorcana is going, right? So if you look at a year and a half to 2 years ago, the DLCs were selling out in seconds. The Lorcana product was impossible to get a hold of. And there was this sort of excited, frenetic energy around Lorcana of like, whoa, this game is like exploding. This game is about to be way bigger than anybody thought. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen. You combine that with the fact that we live in sort of this like kind of instant gratification, dopamine, social media ecosystem that we live in now. Mm-hmm. Everyone's like, when the DLC schedule was announced and Ravensburger was in a way spreading out, but kind of also pumping the brakes on the amount of events they had in the United States, for example, people are like, "What? Pumping the brakes? I want a DLC every weekend." You're right. Yeah, it's like where people wanted. So it's like fair to wonder like what is going on and what the strategy is. Mm-hmm. And when you watch the Twitch streams that Lorcana does officially, the Lorecasts, they'll even be pretty transparent with us, and they're saying like in a way we're sort of building this ship as we fly it, but we want to really make sure that we take care of it. So now we're going to go into the part where I become really optimistic. I was a really long time Magic the Gathering player. Whenever you see like an old like in their late 60s or whatever player at a card shop, I was always like, that is going to be me because I love Magic the Gathering so much. I feel like with that game, you have a really clear case of like the developers stopped taking care of it and started getting a little reckless with it. And they're like, well, let's do some SpongeBob cards, some Spider-Man cards. Who cares if they're broken? Let's just ship them anyway. The game's going to be fine. And I feel like what I can definitely say about Ravensburger is that I can see the care they're taking. They're not reckless with this. They're not making any mistakes. I think that the moves that they're doing, it's more like I can see how they're being careful here and leaving room for growth. And for that, I'm like not thinking that the game is in that bad of a spot for reasons like that. And if you ever are in a spot where you're like, okay, Ravensburger's moving too slow for me, we're in a golden age of TCGs, so go play Cookie Run for a week and have a great time. There's like some fair like things to say. Like, so for example, PPT
100%.
was happening in Orlando, Florida. That's where Disney World is. I don't know if you guys know that. And there was a point at this tournament that featured heavily Riftbound, Cookie Run, and Lorcana, where a giant costume mascot walked into a room, was announced, and everybody playing that card game went, yeah, it's our mascot. And like, can you guys believe it wasn't Disney? It was Ginger Brave. How does that happen? How is it not Mickey Mouse? I like don't understand. It's like the whole point of playing a Disney game is because you want that Disney budget and you want to feel like, yeah, I'm playing the Disney game. And like Dev Sisters was there. I talked to people that were like, we hope you win so you can come to Korea. You can come to the office. You're going to love it. And I feel like, there's a part of me, I'm a local game store gamer at heart. And there's a part of me that feels like, why wasn't Ravensburger there? Like, how much does it cost to be there? And how's it not worth it with the Disney push to have Mickey Mouse come in and do a little dance? We're in Orlando. The costume's right there. And I know it is.
Yeah.
So that's where I see where they're coming from. But there's part of me that knows that the patience will be rewarded. And, it's a German company. They're very methodical. They're being methodical about it.
Very efficient. Very efficient.
So unironically, that exact point is something that Brian Cortad and us, shout out the Rat, by the way, that's something we talked about. This is all the way back in the Atlanta DLC, if not what was the one directly after Atlanta's DLC, the second one?
Chicago.
Like all the way back then, which he ended up winning. Yeah. So unironically, at the same DLC ended up winning, we talked about how much of a spectacle or how much more the DLCs really could be.
Yeah.
If we could feel the Disney presence. Like at Continentals, we got a little bit of a taste of it with having the signature Mickey and being able to actually go take pictures with Mickey. But why isn't every DLC that level of engagement from the game? Because a lot of us started playing it because of the Disney magic, not even necessarily because it was a good card game. It just happens that it's a good card game on top of it. But I mean, something you just brought up, Jeremy, is a really important point. The mascot you had at PPG wasn't a Disney mascot while you're right there in the land of Disney.
It's coming into your house,
and it feels like one of those small things that would go such a long way in creating the hype that we all genuinely think this game has and can cultivate in people. Do I think that there are some criticisms to be made? Absolutely. But I'm also in the camp of Jeremy, where I think the patience in the long run is going to pay off. I admire them having this explosive start in their first year and being willing to take the time to say, okay, we can pump the brakes a little bit because we understand that the growth is going to be more important than the immediate satisfaction we're going to try to kill ourselves in giving everybody exactly what they want, which would be a DLC in every region every month. Do I think they could probably do it? Sure, but it might not be what's better for the long-term vision of what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Shout out to I Need Liam and Mickey in the casting.
Right. What a dream, right? I don't know if I can handle it. I would I don't know. I just want to see Mickey freaking out over all his friends being on the board, wondering why Donald is riding a mechanical legs, or I don't know. Donald perfect gentleman. Donald
they cast Spooky Sight and you're like, Mickey, what do you think of that? And he's like, yeah, he can't handle the Spooky Sight. I mean, yeah, right. These are things we got into the Disney card game with the hope that we would get some of the Disney magic, like I did anyway. That was sort of my pitch to Zan, right? I got him into Lorcana. He was putting down magic. He was like, Jeremy, we're a little older now. Trading card games might not be it. And I was like, but this one could be fun. It's Disney. It could be big. And I think that you'll like it. And he played it and he really liked it. And that's sort of the beginning of that story. But, there was that hope there that like, and go to Disney World a few times. And like, if you win Disney Lorcana Worlds, like all kinds of crazy, it might not be a prize in terms of a promo card or money, but it might be like, yeah, you get like a year pass to Disney or whatever, bring your family, stuff like that. It could like be a lot more integrated. I would love to see that kind of thing. And, that would be like sort of because whenever I have a discussion, I'm always looking for what are like the rooms for improvement. I would hate to just be like, yeah, Ravensburger's fumbling. They're dogs here. They're terrible, right? That's like not how I feel at all. I feel like there's a lot of good going on. And like, just from a player's perspective, I would love, DLC Bologna was an awesome time, but the inside of that room looked a lot like GP Charlotte in 2012, where it was a room full of tables with gamers playing games. For me, that's heaven. But for the average Disney fan, it's tough to say. And we could have a little more Disney, that's how I feel.
I mean, like, just to touch on that for sure, I feel like they captured it pretty well in like Continentals, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the theme and the overall atmosphere was as Disney magic as you could get for what Continentals was. And I think that should be their benchmark for all of their official major events going forward. I mean, just being honest.
There was the moment at Continentals where there was like a stage in sort of the middle of like the big ballroom, and there was some like lighting around the stage where it was like a deep dark blue with some just like Disney music, and there was this feeling of like, ooh, something's gonna happen here. And like, Liam, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. That felt pretty Disney, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's tough to I think players are always saying like, I want more. So like, yeah, I bet if you asked me, it's like, I think there should be $1 million prizes and Mickey Mouse should lift me into the air when I win. It's hard to tell as a player what's like a reasonable ask and a reasonable criticism versus something that like somebody at Ravensburger would be like, oh, that's all you had to say. We can figure that out in a couple minutes. You know what I mean? It's tough for me to discern.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of people are making a good point here. Like it's, and I agree with this, but I'll caveat it. Like, it's tough to know what's fair criticism because we don't know what Disney is supporting and what they're not, what the deal is, and monetarily what, Ravensburger has to pay for what they don't. And so that's true. I mean, it's hard to know what fair criticism is based on behind the door business dealings and contracts. So that being said, though, I think if I could go all the way back to the holiday discussion, right? Like a Christmas movie is not necessarily a Christmas movie on its face, but it gives you, maybe it touches on it. It touches Christmas, but then it gives you the vibes. It gives you the feels. It may have one Christmas moment in it like Harry Potter, but overall it has that family feeling and it leaves you feeling warm and fuzzy, and you watch it and you sit down afterwards and you're like, that felt like Christmas. It made me happy and I want to watch it again, and I want to watch it again next year, and I want to experience that again. I feel like that's what we're describing. And it's not necessarily that they're very, very specific asks that we have. Like we want to see Mickey Mouse at every event, but we want to feel like we are in the Disney world when we're interacting with this game, particularly at organized events or at official events. And the magic wears off a little bit, as somebody here said, Storbrand Dylan, shout out to you. The Disney magic drove a whole new audience the first time TCG pushed through the door. We're here now. Now what? The now what that people are expecting is to experience that Disney magic at least periodically. And to kind of, if I were to try to summarize what you all were saying, if there's one thing that we would criticize right now, it's that given that we have a whole new generation of TCG players who are Disney fans here, and given that a lot of us are Disney fans and we're in this game still, and we're doing such an amazing job as community members of setting, I think, a brilliant tone and culture within this community, the one thing that we really want to feel is that Disney magic, even occasionally. And there is room to increase the magic a little bit, however it's done.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about I played in a Cookie Run tournament this weekend, and it felt really different than a lot of other trading card game tournaments. It felt like a Cookie Run tournament. What contributed to that? Well, first of all, you got a blind box of a Cookie Run blind box when you entered, which is interesting, right? Our entry promo is not a card; it's a blind box from the Cookie Run set, and those are little and they're cute. And they had the mascot, but they also had Dev Sisters' presence was there, and they had a big banner that said Cookie Run, and it really felt like people were jealous of the Cookie Run people. I could tell, like the Lorcana people were like, "What's going on over there?" And JDZ Quest walked out of that room with a bunch of Cookie Run cards. Why? Because there was something going on in that tournament that made it look really fun to play in. And I would love to see some of that for Lorcana. But I really just do also sympathize with, like, it's hard to know what's a fair criticism as a player. I think something like this, if Ravensburger is going to admit that they're sort of in this transitionary period where they're figuring everything out, I think it's totally fair for me as a player to say, like, all right, well, I'm going to hang out with Cookie Run for this weekend because they got something going on that I'm really interested in. They're figuring it out. They're moving. And, I'm not worried for Lorcana, but I think it makes a lot of sense to play Riftbound this weekend. I think it makes a lot of sense to play Cookie Run this weekend. While Lorcana's in this stage of figuring it out. Colorist Law won a Cookie Run raffle.
Yeah.
There was a raffle. Did Lorcana have a raffle?
No.
Question mark.
Well, so I mean, like as we're hitting like our closing thoughts and just like a wrap up, I for sure just want to touch on that. I think that's a perfect way to summarize how some of us are feeling. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that some of your favorite Lorcana creators and/or players are playing other games. Like, there's going to be ebbs and flows. I mean, I played the Final Fantasy TCG for a little bit in the interim between Continentals and Worlds while we were, getting ready for that. I've started to pick up Riftbound a little bit just because it looks fun. There's something going on because they're in their first initial push of like, here's our game. We want you to look at it. We want you to engage. We're going to throw you all the bells and whistles. Kind of like what Set 1 Lorcana felt like, right? We kind of all knew when Season 2 was announced and the limited number of DLCs were shown that we'd hit the midway point of the season. It would kind of feel like this, a transitionary point. So I don't think other people trying other things and just seeing what else is there for the moment is spelling doom for the game at all. I just think in the interim, we need to really pay attention and give feedback as much as possible and try to keep it as constructive as possible. Yeah. I mean, the central theme, what we're talking about, what's a fair ask, right? Jeremy, putting up that expectation of, I want Mickey to lift me up at the end of every single DLC. I don't know if that's a real ask, but trying to hammer home the point to Ravensburger that, like, the biggest thing that they can contribute is something of a Disney-esque feel at every major event, I think is something within the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I agree. I will ask you both for closing thoughts again. Unfortunately, this is something we should have opened up when we had a full show time and did an hour and a half, because this is such a fun, meaty topic and there's so many perspectives to weigh in on. But I want to give my final thought and then I'll ask you both for yours, and then give Jeremy a huge thank you for being here and invite him back again. But no, I think you said it well, Logan. Like, I am also, for whatever reason, I have been a big supporter of the game since day one. And I think it's easy to lose sight of all of the incredible things the company has done with the art, the design, the story, the card frames, getting DLCs underway as soon as they did, which I don't think was the initial plan. We had a first Worlds. There's so much that has gone right. And it's easy to lose sight of that when we see things that frustrate us, because all of the good things sometimes are transparent. And I thought this conversation was interesting today because the reason that people were having the conversation online now it was an interesting one to me in that they saw some of their favorite Lorcana players playing other games. What I think would have been more alarming to me is if those same players were sitting at home and just not TCGing, period. And so all that is to say, I don't think, for anybody who is wondering whether or not their league is slowing down or what happened this weekend was a sign of to be concerned about, I don't think that's the case. My honest opinion is that I think the game is going through what I think most TCGs go through at this point in their life. A lot of people who have been around for years now are dabbling in the new hotness in the TCG world. And there are some growing pains, and I think it's natural. But it's also because I'm encouraged at the number of people that I see, coming into the TCG for the first time. And all of that leads me to believe that things are just fine. But as both of you pointed out, there are things that we can and should point out and ask for, because I think there are some fair asks, and I think the company would like to hear it. So we just want a little more magic, I guess. But I don't know. I guess that's my summary. I'll ask you both for your closing thoughts, and then we'll say goodbye for the night. I don't know. Start with you, Jeremy.
So one of my closing thoughts is these ask fors, I just hope and I believe that this is actually true, is that Ravensburger understands that one of the greatest assets that it has is its community. It's looking at a combined total of millions of years of trading card game experience. And so when the community is clamoring for something and asking for something, Ravensburger gets to a bunch of good takeaways. Number one, people really care about this game, because if they didn't care, I wouldn't be here talking to Liam at 9:30 when I know for a fact that I got into Atlanta at 2:30 in the morning, went to work at 5:30, and now it's, for me, 10:30 at night, and I'm talking to you as opposed to completely passed out right now. That's how much I care. So the community cares, but also the community kind of, has good ideas, good direction. I feel like sometimes when people are on my space or on this show and they're talking, I'm like, wow, what a bunch of geniuses. And number three, whenever I'm working with, businesses, I do a little bit of business stuff. I don't ever really want to talk about that in Lorcana, but like the one thing that businesses are always clamoring for is accurate and good customer feedback. And I feel like, it's one of the best things that we can give as Ravensburger, is me saying like, hey, we need a little magic right this very moment or whatever. Like I'm like in. So hopefully, when people hear me talking about this stuff, they're not thinking like, oh, he's being negative, because I don't want to be negative. I love Lorcana. My passion literally just got reignited. I just played a bunch of games of Infinity with Nathan, who's also on my podcast. My passion just got reignited. Hopefully this feedback is taken with like, wow, they really care, and hey, that's not a bad idea. Is like my dream of where this conversation lands, and that's my final thought. Wow, great.
It was wonderful.
So I for sure want to touch on that. There are a lot of people who might just take any criticism towards Ravensburger or the game as like, oh, well, they've got one foot out the door and they're trying to leave. If that genuinely was the case, I mean, we wouldn't be here at this late of night actually talking about the game, trying to just hammer out these details and like get through our feelings of it. I mean, I, for one, I'm in the same boat as Jeremy. I love Lorcana. Like, I genuinely think it's a wonderful card game that has a long lifespan ahead of it. I just think it's also fair at the points where you see some struggle or possible bumps in the road. Like, it's fair to put out the criticism and be like, hey, I think this could be better, because asking for better and maybe the expectation of kind of raising the bar is good. So I guess my biggest closing thought is I'm not afraid of the longevity of the game. I'm not afraid of the direction of the game. I trust that what is going to end up being a long and, I mean, really storied history, this is just a small lull that we're going to look back on in a year and be like, man, you remember last December when we were talking about Christmas movies and the season 2 woes of wanting more DLCs, and now look at us, how far we've come.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate the conversation, both of you. Logan, as always. Jeremy, thanks for being here for the first time. I can't believe it took us this long, and I'm kicking myself. So have to have you back soon.
Liam, I'm a huge admirer of you and all the stuff you do. I always really appreciate content creators that put in the work and do it when it's not easy, and dress up in costumes to let people know that like we're here to have a game. Right, the pajamas in my mind are cool. I saw that and I was like, oh, I'm still in my hoodie. I can't believe it. So I really appreciate it. I'm happy to come on here basically whenever you'd like. Yeah, so thanks so much for the opportunity. Hi, all the viewers. I hope you had a good time watching me.
So Liam says that every week, legitimately. Like, if you ever want to come back on, all you have to do is ask him. A lot of people don't. I just happen to be one of the few people that did, and now here I am every Monday night. Yep. What else am I doing? They're trying to talk on the Illumineers. But genuinely, like, if you reach out to Liam or I, and you're just like, hey, I've got something I want to talk about. This is a good Monday for a topic. Like, reach out and like we'll just make it happen.
100%.
All right, great. I won the golden ticket on the Illuminati. Awesome.
It's true. But no, it's 100% true. So with that, hey, a couple things. Thank you everybody for being here tonight, especially after PPG. We appreciate you all. I'm not sure what the next 2 weeks look like. I've got to talk to Logan with the holidays. We're going to see what we're doing about the next 2 weeks. It is close to Christmas. So we will let you know. Either way, we enjoy it. We will let you know on social media whether we're going to be here, and we appreciate you hanging out with us. Shout out as always to our Patreon supporters who support the show. Really appreciate you all. You help pay for the subscriptions that make the show possible because they aren't cheap. But you all help a lot, and I appreciate all of you. One note on the Magic, I do want to just say, give kudos to Ravensburger because it occurred to me as we were talking. We talked about bringing the Magic pre-release kits coming up. Really excited to see what those look like because those could be a really great opportunity to sprinkle a little pixie dust onto pre-release events. So that is something that we didn't mention, but moving in the right direction. Lastly, I want to give a shout out to a couple community members I met in PPG, Amanda and Dylan. I was super excited to meet both of you. Not only was Dylan 2-0 when he was featured on stream, but they just got engaged. They enjoy Lorcana together, and they're expecting their first child, all of which, like, all at the same time, and they share that with us. And they're two of my favorite community members that I met. So shout out to you and congratulations to both of you on all of the amazing news. If you're not here, you're probably not here. If you know them, tag them because they're awesome. With that, we will see you back here maybe next Monday night. Have a great holiday season if we don't talk to you before Christmas.